We'll talk first baseman with a guy who knows a little thing or two about playing first base, Carlos Pena. Pretty tough to put together this list, right? How hard was it for you?
Yeah, it was very difficult because I had a hard time leaving, for example, Votto out of my list. He didn't make my top 10. That was difficult because obviously I'm a big fan of everything he's been able to do. But I saw him trending on becoming more of a defensive hitter, and I didn't like that. So that was tough to do. Also looking at Goldschmidt. What do I do with Goldschmidt? Even though it wasn't like he had a bad year, but not what we have been accustomed to. And I don't buy this stuff that he's aging, okay? He's 32 years old, in great shape, so I expect a bounce-back year, but he is a little bit higher than before, well, lower than before on my list. That was difficult.
Votto, it's interesting. His OPS plus was 98. First year in his career, it's been under 100, which is crazy, and he's 36 years of age. He also still led the league in OBP a year ago, but did have a bad year.
You know, it's funny that I was troubled by the same guys that you struggled with. I couldn't believe that I was leaving Joey Votto off my top 10. I love watching that guy, and yet, Adnan, he popped up to the first baseman this year. He's clearly must be on the downside, right?
First time ever. One of the craziest stats ever. Of course, you'd appreciate something like that. How about for you, Anthony? Votto, Goldie?
What was crazy about Votto was not leaving him off my list. It was that he wasn't even really that close in terms of my mind. I didn't really think that hard about leaving him off. It was kind of automatic for me. I think Goldschmidt, I agree with you. He's going to have a bounce-back year. I wonder how much of that was park adjustment, a new team, all that stuff. His second half OPS, Paul Goldschmidt, with second half slugging, was 538 compared to 426.
Wow.
I think any of those top three guys could be number one based on the season. Yeah, I think Paul Goldschmidt's one of the best players in the league. Freddie Freeman.
I love it.
Incredibly consistent, offensively and defensively. That's absolutely no disrespect to Pete Alonso. Has more offensive upside than anyone on that list. But Freddie Freeman is the complete ball player, and he's done it for years.
Why didn't you go Freeman 1?
Yeah, Freddie Freeman is awesome, but I went Pete Alonso number 1, and I mean, this was my thinking. 53 home runs.
Yeah,
This was the most game-changing figure that I saw on this list, and just wanted to salute that.
And Matt Olson, you can appreciate his defense.
Both sides of the ball. I thought Anthony had him too low. What, you had him like
That's
7?
fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I had him 7th. But look, it's a good list. Josh Bell has a ton of offensive upside, too. He's a similar player to Alonso in that respect, where you don't get maybe as much on the defensive side, but the offense, especially the power, is through the roof.
If we'd done this at the All-Star break, where would Josh Bell be? Maybe 4.
Yeah, he'd be up there. He'd be up there.
I put Olsen also pretty high on my list. It's just, guys, look, I mean, he missed a lot of games as well, right? And he still hit 30-something, 36 home runs, if I'm not mistaken. We got to look at it. But the point is this. He also plays defense. I'm one of those guys that you took pride in my defense. You just don't put anyone in first base. I'm sorry. You are such a difference maker. If we play good defense at first base, Olsen brings that, and I love that sweet stroke.
Yeah. Where was Anthony Rizzo for you guys?
Pretty high.
I had him 4.
That's where I had him too. And there's a guy I think we have not appreciated enough. 6 straight seasons with an OPS plus of 120 or better. It's only him and Freddie Freeman who have consistently done that.
Yeah, consistency. Jose Abreu is another guy I had lower down on my ballot 9th, but consistency, you look at his track record, it's all there.
Yeah, definitely a great run producer. All right, as far as right fielders are concerned, this is also interesting because I feel like there may be some disparate opinions here. Jay, we'll start with your list. As far as your top right fielders in the game.
Yeah, right field is loaded, right? It's loaded. I went with Yelich number 1 over, I mean, look, anybody in that top 4 could be your number 1, but Christian Yelich won an MVP award 2 years ago and had a better year in 2019. A guy with 1,100 OPS coming off these 2 years, that's historic. But I think one of the hardest things for me was where to put Acuna, because this is right now. And I felt like if I were buying stock, anybody in this group, I would buy that stock, that Ronald Acuna Jr. stock.
There was a hot second this year where Ronald Acuna had a legitimate MVP case in the National League, and he trailed off a little bit towards the end. But yeah, going into 2020, it's pretty hard to bet on anyone over that guy.
I think he's going to be a 50-50 guy at some point. I really do.
Let's see Anthony's list, because Bryce Harper was not top 4 on Jason's list. I'm curious where you have Bryce Harper.
Yeah, I've got Bryce Harper number 4. So my list was actually pretty similar to Jason's. I've got Michael Conforto in there, which I think he deserves some credit as another consistent player with maybe even a little bit more upside. But yeah, I think we forget about Bryce Harper sometimes, which is crazy to say because he's Bryce Harper and all of that comes along with it. but he's still a very good hitter, and I understand, health concerns with him, especially long-term going forward and things like that. But the dude can hit. The dude can still rake, and he's still a very, very good ball player. I wouldn't put him quite in that class with Yelich and Betts and Acuna at the very, very top, but he's maybe like just a shade below
He had
that.
72 extra base hits. Defense ticked up, and one thing that happened in the second half was he'd been driving the ball in the first half, but he lifted the ball in the second half. And if he continues to do that, he's a 50 home run season waiting to happen in that park.
And Carlos, the only one who had Mookie Betts at number 1. What was your thinking there?
Yeah, just looking at Yelich and Betts, right? I can just flip a coin as far as who's number 1. However, just the eye test, and I'm looking at Mookie Betts, I'm like, this guy's just a superb athlete. Like, he might be the best athlete in all of baseball, just by looking at him. So I try to go with the eye test there. Obviously, the numbers do back him up, but Yelich was very difficult to pick him over Yelich because of what you just mentioned, Jason, that, MVP, then he had a better year. You know what I had a hard time with? Talking about investments, right here, Acuna and Judge. For some reason, I felt that Acuna was a little bit more, there was a little bit more volatility there. And I'm one of those guys that likes to invest and just get my steady growth, besides those peak months, then it goes down, and you know what I mean? I like the steady growth.
Aaron Judge plays big dividends.
He does, and I don't know, I just feel like that's a secure, it's gonna just give me some nice dividends there over the course of a year.
And that's what's crazy about this list is you look at a bunch of names, probably 5, 6 deep on this right field list, where these guys have best player in baseball upside.
Yeah.
That's how stacked this list is.
Yeah.
Interesting where you guys had Jorge Soler, 7, 8, 9, that area. 48 home runs last year, led the American League, but also led the league in strikeouts, and he hit .212 against breaking ball. So I wonder if the 1 year is an aberration.
You have to wonder that. I probably would have had him higher, but I know the Royals people are convinced that the adjustments that he made are real. He had 48 home runs in Kansas City. The power is beyond doubt.
You absolutely. That park is not easy to hit in, and he was making it look like a matchbox. Unbelievable.